All right, everyone. This is the Data Center News Show, and we have a big party in the house. This is a show of the U.S. PropTech Council. For those of you who don't know what the U.S. PropTech Council is, we're like the cool kids. We are the coolest people around. And so you should join us for sure. We have real estate companies and startups and universities, and we're all researching everything around technology in the real estate industry. And this is the Data Center News Show where we talk everything data centers. And I have a big party today, and we're going to talk about data center construction and all the things around data center construction. And we got one more person coming in. Awesome sauce. There's Val. Hey, girlfriend. So we're going to get started. Let everybody introduce themselves, and then we will kick it off. Hey, all right, Hunter, you go first, buddy. Introduce yourself to the audience.
Hello, everybody. Thanks for having me on your show. My name is Hunter Newby. I've been in the network neutral interconnection space since the late 90s. I was one of the founders of a company called Telex. We started at 60 Hudson Street in New York, solving physical air interconnection problems between disparate networks in the same building, which used to be served by LECs, local exchange carriers. And we sort of did away with that and made it all direct interconnects. And then a whole business model emerged from that, the necessity for conduits and interduct and engineering and access procedures and shipping and receiving and all that stuff. It was a new concept back then, commonly referred to as the meet me room. So I've been in that space for all that time, pioneering meet me rooms. The first carrier hotel I acquired was 56 Marietta Street in Atlanta, Georgia, and that was back in May of 2004, which is now 21 years ago. And I've done a lot of different deals in the space, been a partner in a lot of different deals, started Neutrality. Some people might know that with partners, Jerry Marshall and Miramar. Was a partner in Colo ATL and exited that to American Tower, partner in NJFX, the very first neutral submarine cable landing station built anywhere. That was in Wall Township in New Jersey. I'm still a partner in Fiber Center in Canada, and the new venture, which we're going to talk about today, Connected Nation Internet Exchange Point. So I've been a partner in many carrier hotels and meet rooms across the United States in major cities. The idea that I always had in the back of my mind is, how do I bring the value of economies of scale, of what this is, neutral interconnection, basically in real estate, to the places where it isn't. So I originally wrote a series of articles in 2003 and 2004 about the meet me rooms in North America. It was called Meet Me in New York, Meet Me in LA, whatever, to do my own preemptive due diligence on my roll-up strategy to go buy all those sites that I wrote about. And a couple years ago, I decided to revisit all those sites to see where the largest internet exchanges were relative to those addresses. The internet exchange is a layer 2 Ethernet switch with the function of connecting different autonomous system networks to each other. That's how the internet works. So I found all of those sites, and lo and behold, the biggest exchanges are in the same exact meet me rooms and carrier hotels that I featured 20 years ago plus. Cool. By looking at the inverse of that, I found all these other facilities, states actually, that don't have a single internet exchange. So my venture with Connected Nation is to build new buildings in the cities and states that don't have even one single internet exchange in it, so that traffic can be localized there. And that's very important for certain flavors of AI, particularly real-time inference AI. So I'll leave it at that.
Awesome. Yes, hopefully, and we're getting excited when we get that's awesome. Yeah, we'll get into it more in a little bit. Hey, Michael, how are you, buddy?
Hey, good. Michael Silla. I lead the mission critical construction and advisory practice at Harvey Cleary. Been in the data center arena for, I'm going to be kind and say, several decades. Hunter just brought up Telex, and I remember when Tomer called me from Abry and said, "Hey, we're looking at this company Telex. Can you run over there and can you guys assess it?" And I'm like, "Well, how long do I have?" He's like, 2 weeks. So I've been on the construction, the owner side, the equity side. So I've seen this seen the data center arena from all four sides of the putt and of the putting green, and we're watching it change daily. Hunter just brought up AI inference. There's things changing daily, so good to be here and look forward to the discussion today.
Yeah, thanks for coming, Howie.
Hello, everybody. Howard Berry, Avis Young, all things data center real estate. I run the national data center platform here at Avis Young, and we're doing insane projects all over the country. But Hunter, I've got a carrier hotel for you in Fort Worth, and Michael can build it.
There you go.
I'm in Dallas right now, and I may not
Perfect.
be getting out according to American
Perfect.
Airlines tonight.
For sure. Yeah, maybe. Yeah, exactly.
Amy
Neha,
gets
how
the-
are you? Okay,
You guys do transactions on the show. You have to give Amy.
exactly. I get rev,
Everybody's in.
I get rev share, man. I'm telling you, I get rev share on everything. I get rev share on everything. All right. So by the way, I invited Neha because we met at Dice National, and I was so excited to meet another female technology founder doing really cool things in the data center space. There's not enough of us. But I'm so excited that she's here and she's going to talk about her tech and all the things that it does. So, but nice to see you, Neha. How are you?
Nice to see you, Amy. Thanks for having me today. It was really nice meeting and chatting with you at Dice. I'm Neha Pardandi, Director of Product at Doxil. My background has been primarily tech, close to 15 years, building enterprise products across industries, now in construction tech. Excited to be here. I'm here to, share about Doxil. We are the #1 industry solution for automated progress tracking. So we use computer vision, machine learning, AI, automated tools, provide project teams with real-time visibility and production tracking into their projects. So, we help teams build faster with more predictability and using current technologies. Well, that's me. Thanks for having me today.
Awesome. Hey, yeah, for sure. Hey, Sean, how are you?
Hey, everyone. Sean Farney, JLL data center guy. I just feel like I'm all talked out. I just did an AFCOM. I was actually talking about you, Hunter. I was doing an AFCOM, the resurgence of the edge because of AI webinar, and I'm out of words. I can join for the first half an hour, but great to be here with you all and see familiar and new faces and talk some cool data center AI GPU stuff. Maybe some other acronyms. MDIP, that's my new one. The Massive Digital Industrial Park. That's the newest.
Yeah.
Acronym.
Huge. Should be huge. Yes, for sure. Exactly. Yeah. Thanks for coming. Appreciate it. Val.
Hi. Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be
Did we lose Val?
among all
There
of
she
these
is.
great minds.
Hi.
Hi.
Sure.
Can you hear me okay? Testing. Hi, Valerie Crafton. Been, I'll say, a couple decades as well in the mission critical world. It's always fun to talk to a lot of the new folks who are coming into the industry. And I love talking to young students too. When I ask them, do you know what the cloud is? They all know what a cloud is, but they don't know what a data center is. So that's always a fun conversation. But yeah, just lived in this world, started in the field building them 21 years ago, and have evolved from there, been on both sides of the table, both general contractor, owner side, and now consultant side.
Great. Thanks for coming. Hey, Mr. Martin, how are you?
Amy.
2 weeks in a row. I get you for 2 weeks in a row.
Yeah, it's been great. Nice to see all the familiar faces and be back on the show. Martin Rankison with Johnson Controls. Have been in software and hardware for over 30 years. I lead our division on the data centers where we do cooling as a guaranteed service. So great to be back.
Yeah. And Curtis, how are you, bud?
Hey, everybody. Amy, great to see you last week, and you too, Valerie, weeks ago. I'm Curtis. Conference.
Yeah, design.
Yeah.
I built some ILAs for a long haul fiber network that I built from Miami to Atlanta in railroad right away. And I took the concept of the ILAs and made them really neutral meet points. And that was 15 years ago. A lot of people talk about edge, and they would always follow it up with computing. And the problem with that is that edge interconnection has to happen first. And that's layer 0 basically and layer 1. And that's what I focus on. And then all the cool stuff up the stack can happen, and you can do whatever computing you want. So I took the design of that, the philosophy of it, and entered into this joint venture with Connected Nation, which is a 25-year-old nonprofit focused on rural broadband and digital divide in the U.S. So they're effectively grant writers and advocates. They do a lot of broadband mapping for the FCC. They are the broadband office for a lot of states under contract, and they also do grant review for states that are applying, or for entities that are applying to states for funds, federal or state funds. So we applied for a grant in the state of Kansas to build a neutral internet exchange point on the campus of Wichita State University. And Wichita State gave us 1.3 acres of land for free for 40 years. And we got a $5 million grant from Topeka to build it. And it's a modular building according to my design. I have a very, particular way of designing manholes, points of entry, man trap, meet area for fiber panels, power room. Simple things. It's not a huge building. It's meant for market penetration into a city the size of basically Wichita. We've mapped out the U.S. I have my own research, which you can find on my Newbie Ventures website. It's real-time, updated daily. It's an API into PeeringDB. So basically, I've mapped the whole world and know where all the internet exchanges and internet exchange point facilities are by address. And as I was saying earlier, I know by looking at the inverse of that where they're not. And Wichita is a place where there's not states in the U.S. that don't have a single IX. Crazy today. So the backhaul is a problem. It has to leave the state to get onto the what we call internet and come back. And with the advent of real-time AI, the need types of GPUs core of where bits are routed in a city is imperative. And if there isn't a neutral place of interconnection, well, it's kind of hard to do different in Houston. Speaking of 1 million people, problem. Digital device inference AI equals development opportunity. Not data centers, by the way. These are not data centers. These are internet exchange points, or what I would call meet me room. But when I say that to people in Kansas or whatnot, they think I'm in the dating business and I'm trying to facilitate meetings of people or something. So we call them internet exchange points. Does that make sense?
You sure? You don't want to be the next? Yeah, you don't want to be the next Match.com. You sure? Come on, Hunter.
No.
I'm just kidding.
I get
No,
some
this is awesome, but you're required.
Sorry?
You're required, though. You're definitely required for the digital infrastructure is required. If there's going to be any sort of we were talking about. I actually watched Sean's webinar, and he was talking about edge, and it was pretty interesting. If for some reason someone could get power wherever they wanted to get power, then they're still going to need connectivity. So if they want to find a cheap land out in, outside of Wichita, Kansas, and they could bring the power but themselves, right? Then the connectivity is the only missing link to, right, Sean?
Correct. Well, yeah.
My real estate perspective these days is all about power. It's driving everything, and in recent years we've seen I think it's fascinating what DC Blocks has been doing, like bringing their own fiber, right, or building new cable landing stations. Maybe that's a trend. I don't know, but used to be, ping, power, pipe were kind of equally weighted in site selection, and now it's just power is just driving everything. But you can't have a data center without fiber. That's for sure. So super important. And I'm perusing Hunter's map now. This is fascinating. Who knew that there were states with no IXs? This is really cool stuff, Hunter.
Who knew?
It's a good right point. Now, no one knows this. This is really neat. You guys should all go surf over to Newbie Ventures and check this out. It's really kind of fun.
Thanks, Sean.
Hey, Martin, or excuse me, Hunter, I have a question. Is the reason why you selected Wichita State is because they were like the first to accept the grant, or were there other grants accepted and there was more context to why this was the site that you selected?
Great question. There's a lot of ways to answer it, but there was a person there, Tanya Witherspoon, that she just actually left the school, but she was there for a long time. She's worked there several times. She ran the innovation campus at WSU. And she was already aware of notionally what an internet exchange was, and she wanted one. And my partners, Connected Nation, had reached out to a lot of state land grant universities to open the dialogue based upon the diligence that we had done, knowing, it's like a card trick. I already know that state lacks an IX. So when we go to talk to the city or the school, that, we tell them about it, they'd never heard of it. And Wichita State, when they were contacted, were very receptive, to the point where they were like, yeah, come on out, meet. And we met. And as soon as we met them, within 5 minutes, they're like, let's get in the car and drive around campus and you tell us where you want to put it. And I'm like, what? It's like, it doesn't happen like that. So that was a big part of it. The awareness before we got there, and the fact that they were so eager. She had reached out to some other folks prior, carriers and whatnot. And of course, there isn't a carrier that's going to advocate for this sort of thing locally because they fear it, which they shouldn't. It's misplaced, but they do. And then separately, Wichita, and Innovation Campus in particular, but Wichita as a city, most people don't know, is an industry town. It's the aviation and aerospace and engineering capital of the U.S. And there are many aerospace and aviation companies. They're headquartered there and have their entire engineering operations there. So Boeing, Spirit, Airbus North America is there, Dassault, Textron that owns Beechcraft and Cessna. You got Lear. They were all founded in Wichita. And a lot of people call Wichita a flyover city, and they like to say 25% of all the parts in every plane that flies over our city was made here, which is fascinating. So the enterprise businesses that are there, and they're very significant, and they're working on really important DoD things. They have a hard time sending files to each other because they have email attachment rate limits of 25 megs, and they've got scans of like the B-1 bomber. Each scan is a gig. So they have to actually walk them back and forth to each other on thumb drives.
Wow.
Today in 2025. That's something that we all called SneakerNet in Hollywood back in 05, 06. And then when I was at Telex and we had the meeting room at 600 West 7th, we went out there and we educated them about One Wilshire and LADWP and Burbank Power and Water and their fiber network, and eliminated SneakerNet. And that still happens right now. A lot of places, I'm sure, but in Wichita. So there's a big demand for very rudimentary, basic things that Internet Exchange can solve for. But if you take it forward, they were having problems with lack of direct cloud connectivity because of the RTDs and the throughput on the transit that had to go from Wichita to Kansas City or Denver or Dallas even. So there was another big factor for why they were receptive. So anyway, all that combined is what compelled the state to issue the grant, because they began to realize, I mean, in terms of internet infrastructure, there's tiers and there's rankings, and you can say there's first class internet, and then there's second class. A whole state that lacks a really significant robust internet exchange point within the state is definitely second class. And there are many, as Sean was pointing out. You can go to my website and see the states that have zero. And some big states only have one, and it only has a few ASs on it, so you can kind of count that as pretty much not existent. And that's, if you add them all up, 26 states. It's half the U.S. It all backfalls to the usual, 1950 Stemmons in Dallas, or 56 Marietta, or 1 Wilshire, or whatever, Ashburn, Filigree Court. All those states do. And that's not acceptable. So Kansas, I'll give them tons of credit. The Innovation Campus, truly innovative. And they love doing things first. They were the first to do many, many things, certainly in aviation. And then, this is going to be a renaissance, as far as I can tell, for the next wave of building this type of infrastructure in the places where it doesn't exist today. Everyone will look to Wichita and say, how did they do it? And what were the benefits? And by the way, it's not just me, it's a big team. And I'm not building the IX, that's DKIX. So for those of you that have heard of DKIX or not, they're the largest internet exchange operator in the world. They started in Frankfurt, Germany, but they're in 61 countries now. And I'm bringing them to Wichita, and that's a big deal. So they were super welcoming,
Awesome.
receptive, and everything. Yep.
That's great. That's super,
Yeah,
super
no,
cool. All right.
another
Well,
win for,
that's
for
awesome.
Ivo
But
Ivanov, right?
Sorry, what was that?
Said another win for Ivo Ivanov at DKIX.
Yeah. Me and Ivo go way back. When he first was started as a lawyer, as counsel to DKIX. And I was just in Frankfurt a couple of weeks ago for their 30-year anniversary, and I was very honored to be asked to speak there, coming from the U.S. Yeah, he does an amazing job. I was a force of nature. And to Wichita to talk about this, all of the enterprise customers, and the education people, and all the government people in Wichita, Sedgwick County, and state of Kansas, aviation of the world, and it's all
learn online because
a wake up for a while, but like it's been a 2N
mirroring the design tests, and
and now it's all better.
Subjects a little bit and ask questions. There's switch gears construction. A couple of things that are playing them are around, obviously, supply chain shortages, labor shortages, all of those different things. So I'm going to kick it off. I'll have Michael start. And kind of what are you seeing? What is the biggest challenge right now as far as construction of sites that you're seeing on any of your projects?
So you hit it right. It's supply chain, it's the labor, it's pre-positioning, all of that. But it really comes down to when you look at what's going on out there. Sean brought up it's about the power, right? So everybody's chasing power. We have a lot of new entrants into the market, which is clouding things up. The utility system's not set up to take on these requests, so it all starts there. Then that requires money once you've identified, hey, here's a potential for that. So what we're seeing is we've had a lot of investment come into the data center arena. Everybody wants to play here. It's an asset class that everybody wants. However, because of what's going on with the power, there's inherent risk. So developing in the data center arena takes a lot of money and a lot of different steps to get there. And that's kind of triggering kind of the hiccup that's backing up, which is the check writing has to start. It's significant. We have a lot of projects that start and stop because the money would like the developers and operators to have a tenant. So they're looking for an LOI or a signed contract, depending upon credit value, to de-risk their investment. And because of that, the clients are then, you put yourself in the side of the tenant and the client, they need to de-risk because they need a concrete schedule on when power is going to be delivered and when the building will be delivered to when they can move in. So they need a concrete schedule. We're caught in the middle trying to put an execution plan together for the operator developer. But the problem is the money triggers that. Now, we already have supply chain issues across the stack that starts with utility transformers, right? Today, somebody, hey, can you get us these? They're 24 to 36 months right now, depending upon what you need. Generators, UPS systems, the hyperscalers and some of the larger data center developers, operators have, they have a pretty healthy supply that they bought out the supply chain, right? So as AI is ramped up, we've pressured the entire supply chain all the way across. And it just continues to trickle down. And then when you get to labor, there's only so many electricians, there's only so many tradescraft workers. We're going into different areas, contrary to popular belief. Construction and tradecraft workers don't really like to live in trailers in the middle of nowhere for the next 5 years.
Sure. Oh, why not? Oh, come on.
So there's a lot going on out there. I will tell you though, for a data center that is going to start next year in between April and June, we're already pre-positioning labor with tradecraft, with electrical subcontractors. I mean, you have to get out there and you need to start every Monday. We start our Mondays off with planning for the next several years, and we're looking at our labor and our staffing, and our trades partners are doing the same. So, monitoring these projects, making sure that we're communicating with the trades partners that, hey guys, this project is slipping for whatever reason. The power's delayed. The tenant is making design changes. So again, it's very critical when you're developing these data centers it's like football. The ball needs to keep moving downfield, 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 get the first down, and you have to keep moving. And, the decision-making process is tough. We're also we're building for servers that are yet to be manufactured. So we're watching a lot of things change while we're in flight. So a lot of discussion going around. How do you build a box that, you know, can get 80% of the way there to house different types of data center functions or clients, right? And you know, how do you taper that by 20%, right, to customize it? So a lot there to unpack.
Yeah, I think, you know, just hearing all this and
for
back
sure.
to what technology makes possible even today, you know, given, you know, all the products that we have in the market, or even Doxel, if I may say so. Taking the plans that you have, using data that you already have, which is your schedule and your plans and all your, you know, what you've laid out, marrying that back to your actual production, you know, your quantities installed, the production rates, using real-time data from the field, you know, we are able to make the connection between the two and remove the guesswork out of, hey, what's coming next? Is my crew on time? You know, what do I have to plan for? You know, what do I know that I need to plan for, or what do I not know that I need to provide some space for? So marrying the technology available today using AI, machine learning, computer vision, you know, bringing it back to the traditional process of scheduling is where, you know, where the industry is kind of going today from a technical perspective. And even if you think about it, right, you have your office in one location, you might have one PM watching, or, you know, managing 2-3 different projects miles away. And by allowing, you know, them to connect to a platform and view your project, you can have a virtual walkthrough. For example, you can see what's going on site without having to physically, you know, drive 2 hours and see what's happening. So by saving time, you can help enable your teams to actually spend time on what matters, right? Unblocking, you know, instead of searching for issues to fix. So that's where I see, you know, technology that we're building today, products that we're building today would really help you and your teams. And it also helps both owners and GPs stay on the same page. You know, it connects teams together and helps bridge that gap.
It's great.
Yeah, no, it's great. I love her tool. It's awesome.
Yeah.
Go Howie.
I was going to say, Michael, you know, in the supply chain and everybody's being taxed and delivering. I'm hearing about faulty equipment being delivered. I just heard about a bunch of Chinese generators aren't running on a site that needs a lot of generators. So,
well, I mean, we've seen UPS systems start up, battery fires, right? Things that we never saw before. But when, you know, you think about the mass volume and the output of what's coming out of the factory, and you know, I'm watching people do their planning. It's like, hey, if you have one transformer burn up and there's 18 months, right? Start there, right? A generator issue. You know, look, not everybody's in a position like some of the several top players, and I'm not going to throw names out there, but they're stocking equipment, right? They're pulling from it, but there's others that are playing in this that don't exactly have that kind of the backing's there, but it's all about ROI, right? And yield on cost. So, you know, stocking spare parts, you know, such as large transformers, generators, right? It's not a reality for everybody. And it's getting interesting out there right now, but it all starts in the beginning, the decision-making process. And, you know, I think there's, you know, one of the things that we're seeing out there is, you know, the end users, the tenants, they're out there shopping across multiple players, multiple sites, and it's kind of like musical chairs, right? And you hope you have a chair when the music stops. And the challenge with that is, well, because everybody has their own criteria, right? And, you know, it all starts, you know, look, financially, the money backers, whether they're putting up the equity or the debt, right, or both, they like to see a tenant, right? Because it's an enormous amount of capital that goes into a data center. So, you know, when you look at that, you have to move swiftly. You're writing checks. It's not regular development. You know, they go as far as they can. If they spend 10, 100,000 or 200,000 in commercial development, it's a lot. Some type of microgrid solution tied in. I think that's going to be good because, you know, as an industry,
Yeah.
we're very risk adverse and slow to adapt. And while we've been talking about, you know, natural gas being a solution for a long time, we've been very slow to kind of adapt and move in an area that makes perfect sense. You know, you can't keep
Yeah.
passing these costs to the actual ratepayers, right? So it's and the system's strained. So I think Texas has taken a step for, you know, that we're going to see kind of go across the country, and it's going to kind of help the system, right? That because you solution to a company.
I'll jump in here because we're
Happen. And so they'll probably one of the biggest risks as well. And at the end of the day, we can have all of the equipment and all the parts and pieces in place, but without the people, we don't have anybody to flip the switch. So really focusing on that labor workforce is going to be key because we're going to be hitting a bottleneck next year. It's huge. I think we need like 2 million workers, additional workers next year. And so just those early partnerships and bringing folks in as early as possible is a big deal.
Yeah, that's where I see using, you know,
for sure.
technologies would help you actually plan for the labor shortage that you're already foresee, you know, and having those systems in place using
Yeah, for
the
sure.
tools
Yeah, I
would be helpful.
yeah. Martin, on Johnson Controls and your cooling as a service, are you working on the power generation side too, or are you just doing on the data center operational side?
Our division of Johnson Controls has built central utility power plants over the last 40 years. So we have quite a bit of experience in the power plant side. On the supplying for data centers, is that just a whole nother level that's very, very new to us. So building a 10 megawatt or 20 megawatt power plant, we've done that. Now I just had a conversation with one of the colos out there, and he said, "Don't come back to me unless you want to talk about 1 gigawatt." Okay, so it's a whole another level. We do have experience in that space, and really as an ESCO power service.
Did you see Anthropic said that every hyperscale site needs to be 5 gigawatts now? There's a white paper out about it.
Isn't that crazy?
5 gigawatts. That's
everything's just gigawatts.
It's supposed to be 10. All the smaller
Crazy
stuff
stuff.
be 10 megawatts.
Anything less
Yeah.
is child's play.
Oh, but they're going to put 5 gigawatts inside of a container.
Hey, we
Yes,
still need to
exactly.
get
But it's
power
all
to
going to be inside of
Hunter.
a container because the racks are getting so
Well,
we still need to get
the
power to
latency and
Hunter,
power.
otherwise
Right.
he's not going to be able to connect the internet.
Exactly. And it's all getting 100%
That's
more
true.
complex than it ever was before.
Complex. Yeah.
Yes,
Very
for sure.
Very complex. I said
mean,
it's like
really
eating
fast,
chocolate
like
cake every
really
day with no milk.
Hey,
It's-
if it was easy, anybody would do it.
This
Yeah.
is true.
Right.
Well,
True.
and
maybe,
now everybody is.
maybe somebody could expand on that a little bit in terms of like what this process is, just to like apply for the power. You know, Michael, you mentioned the system impact studies before.
So, go ahead. I'm sorry. Yeah.
Well, if you don't mind.
So I mean, there's a process, right? And I had a conversation in New York the other week at the investment conference, and somebody brought up, well, hey, 2 in 100 sites are actually panning out for power, and I'm like, well, let's unpack that for a minute, right? And why are these sites not getting power? Is it because somebody said, hey, we own this site and there's some transmission lines over there, or there's a gas line there? And it's like, look, before you run off and do this, you really need to do a desktop study and really understand, do you have the attributes for a data center, right? Whether you're a data center operator or you're new to the development of data centers and you're adding it into your development portfolio,
Which is
you have
starting to happen.
you have to spend some money, right? So spend $30,000-$50,000, get the right consultant in. Let's do a study. The next step is you need to go and you need to file for a system impact study. I mean, in the state of Texas, it's probably about $200,000 now, right? But here's what happens. If you start that process and they come back in a month and it looks very favorable, they're going to say, you need to stroke a check for deposits on transformers, right? Because this is looking positive.
Right.
We'll finish the system impact study. Then we'll come back and we'll tell you how many millions of dollars you need to pay for designing the upgrade to the system. And there may be some interconnect fees, right? So now your pursuit costs and your development early on is now escalating, right? You're now 240, 20 million, 30 million, right? It's climbing, right? And not everybody has the equity to start investing or the stomach to start investing at that, right? And so now it gets very interesting, right? And the money that is backing the data center arena, they'll back it and they'll give you term sheets, but the reality is you got to bring a tenant, right? And there has to be the mate of the attributes of what you have. But there's a process. So when you start unpacking 2 in 100 are actually panning out. Well, I'll give an example. We have an industrial client that has a great data center site in Austin. And 2 years ago, I went to the utility company and I could have brought 300 megawatts to the site. Well, they didn't write their check for whatever it was, 100, 150 at the time. Then it escalated. They still didn't, right? It was entitled as a data center, but nobody is going to come there without the system impact study, right? So there's a site that had huge potential to be a data center site. I think we could have easily have put about 156 megawatts of three buildings on site. So that is one of the 98 fallouts of the 100. And you look at it and it's like, well, it wasn't understood. They didn't follow a process. They didn't take the advice of the professionals and they didn't write the check. So again, why are 2 in 100 only panning out? And I think it's the process, right? And then that starts the whole trickle down effect. And then what that does is that site has been shown to people in the data center industry, and it's a turnoff because they're like, yeah, we looked at that and it didn't work out. So it sits at the bottom of the pile and will never resurface again. So that's kind of my take on how things are circulating out there, right? It's they call it the gold rush. I think it's smack up derby. That's what this feels like to me, right?
How many? I have a question. How many of the 2 out of 100 that you said? It sounds like early stage development, desktop studies and all. How many projects, truly big data center projects, went to committee on a load letter or something, and called capital and got the land and dug holes and built buildings, and they're waiting for the utility to deliver power, and the power is not going to come. Like, how many out of 100 are those?
I'd say there's a handful. I mean, Northern Virginia is a prime example of an area. We're seeing some patches down in the Southwest as well to where there's some slight delays, just like in Northern Virginia.
So
Well,
where do you
Hunter, that's
find
why they're
the
doing
distress?
gas.
Let's call them
I
the
lived in
distress,
Howard.
the people that think that BTM turbines that are coming in 6 years are going to save.
Right.
Who owns them?
Who owns the turbines?
Yeah,
Or-
out of the ones that you mentioned, like you don't have to name a name, but they built the whole thing. The utility went, "Oops, we oversubscribed. We can't deliver that. We won't have it. We don't have generation, don't have transmission, don't have delivery, whatever, distribution." So somebody's sitting there with a building. If you don't have power, you don't have cash flow. You don't have cash flow, you can't service your debt. Can't service your debt, you're going to get restructured, and then we have this like domino effect.
Hence, that creates hesitation across the capital stack on investments and assets that they're pursuing, right? So it's a catch-22, right? I mean, there's a fair amount of risk around it. I don't think you've seen a huge amount of deals like that. I mean, you do have some data centers that are operating on temporary natural gas generation and will be for several years, right? But I think part of that was a calculated risk by some, and you have a handful of projects that have been delayed in key areas. But again, I think people went into those markets early on really bullish, and there was some utility allocation issues that, I mean, there's a couple instances I know of could be maybe 6 months to a year off on power, which again impacts your ROI.
Another question, I'm wondering if there maybe is some kind of preferential treatment to allocated to the more seasoned data center developers versus the ones that are now wanting to hop on the bandwagon are like, hey, let's redirect some of our fund into data center development. Although we've never done that before, but we see the long term at the upside of this. But if you're new to the market and you've never really done this before, how difficult is it for you to be able to get in the game?
So preferential treatment, I would say it's not preferential treatment. I think the utilities are wising up, and that's where the fees and the money that they're demanding now, you're going to pay and you're going to get in the game, because for a while there was no pay, and they just strung along, right? And I've been there in the past when I've been an operator. And hey, it's going to cost $6 billion to bring you two new feeders and upgrade your feeders. Well, that's a lot of money in a capital stack if you're a retail colo, right? So you string it along as you can. Today, you can't string that along. Now it's you put your money where your mouth is and you move forward. If you have 30 days they come back with the system impact study and they want engineering fees and interconnection and deposits for the transformers. If you don't write that check, they move on. And I think that's the way it needs to be, but it does make the barrier for others that are getting into it. It makes it a steep hill to climb just because of the capital required to pursue this type of developing this type of asset.
Not to mention the utilities wanting a constant load.
Yeah, we're looking.
Load.
Well, that's it. There's going to be a minimum. Yeah. There's going to be
I've
a minimum on your utility
to solve that problem. I'm like, what?
Well, and here's the other thing, guys, right? So everybody, and just something to think about in the way of developing these large centers and capacity, right? So as we've watched as cloud has grown, right? Before AI kicked in, people back in the old days of retail colo, there was this thing called oversubscription, right? So you sell the power and you can oversubscribe because nobody was going to use it and they wouldn't figure it out. Then all of a sudden we went through this period where, hey, I'm coming in and I need you to allocate, 6 megawatts at a time, month by month, right? Well, they're taking they're going over their ask, right? And then so they stroll in now and it's like, hey, we're going to launch this and we're going to take 100 megawatts. Well, what happens if they're slow to ramp? So this gets into a control situation from mechanical cooling. how do you dial that back? You shut units down. How was the system designed to operate at a slower ramp? And part of the slower ramp is these facilities are coming online because they thought they were going to be ahead of where they're at. And because, a lot of these servers are coming out of testing and they're manufacturing them, right? There's this ramp that may be a little longer, but we don't know how long, because when it hits, it's going to go, which means they have to be ready to run. So you not only have the minimum utility requirement you need to pay for, but now you got to figure out how to mechanically operate this facility. And these are some of the conversations that are at hand right now. And I see Martin shaking his head.
Well, it's one of the things I see.
As you saw cooling. Go ahead.
Oh, it's one of the big risks that I see is those misalignments with construction and utilities, and they're not being aligned, and it creates a huge ripple effect in the delivery of that data center. So, and that infrastructure, for sure, it's one of the biggest problems we have.
I think you're right.
The one way I would leave this conversation is, one thing that we all need to think about is this has never been done before at this scale with technology being developed. I mean, every day it's evolving, right? And, you follow the server manufacturers, the people deploying GPUs. It's changing drastically. And, this is at a scale, it's never been done before, right? So I think everybody in this industry, as we're trying to figure this out, we need to, what made us successful in the past and our way of thinking needs to change a little bit. And, we're going to get some things right, some things we're not. And, we're going to have to think of how to build pivot points into this. And again, I was in a design kickoff yesterday for a large scale campus. And it's like, hey guys, we need to not just think about this building a year from now. We need to think, how is it going to operate 3 years, 5 years, 7 years? I'm watching people try and compress space in the data center arena because they do the higher density, X amount of square feet per cabinet, right? Saving square footage isn't going to save you much. If you cut 50,000 square feet off of a data center, you're at $8 to $10 million you're saving, which is, you can't put the space back on the building, right? So, but you also need to look up above your cabinets and what's feeding it. Your MEP, right? Your pipe, your wire, your cable tray. I mean, we're seeing, 4 and 5 trays of fiber they're talking about, with your power stacked in another tray, your mechanical piping, and then your feeders coming in the room. So you almost need to think about your ceiling height and cubic volume. So there's a lot going on. And again, let's remember, this is all evolving and it hasn't been done before. So
don't forget your trench to liquid cooling.
Yeah.
No trenches.
Power early. You're going to need it.
Yeah, it's using technology to build technology, right?
Yeah.
You have to have leverage of new tools in the market, that the new softwares that you have, in order to even begin to tackle these problems that haven't been tackled before at the scale and volume that is coming at you. So, using the tooling that we're building today in terms of software tech is going to really help scale people.
Yep.
There's also, more people coming into the industry, younger people who are very well versed with using AI and AI tools. Gen Z, I mean, I'm not saying millennials anymore, but I don't know, Gen Z and Gen Alpha and whatever comes next. They are going to be
millennials are so old. Millennials are so old now.
Oh, they're old now.
Sorry for interrupting. Yeah, millennials are old.
Are we?
Okay. Well, look, y'all, this is the end of our hour. We could talk for 3 hours on this subject. I bet you money if we all had time to kind of do this, but our show is come to an end.
We got to let Martin make his comment. He never got to say
Martin, what happened to Martin?
I know. Martin's still here.
Comment. I was right on what Michael was going to say. It's like we're building the airplane while we're flying it, and we're all going to do the best we can. But I do have a client of ours, Colo, built a 20 megawatt site, and what happened is they did communicate with the utility, and guess what? The utility said, "I don't have it. It's another 3 years." So even though they did it all by the book, everybody said yes, they dotted all the T's, crossed all the I's, you still can't predict it. So we're going to keep building that plane while we fly. There's my.
And that's one of the risks that are coming up is people finding that out and not being able to get the temp power in place fast enough.
That's right.
Yeah. No, for sure. All right, we're going to do outros. Hunter, if somebody would like to get a hold of you, how can they do so, sir?
Newbie Ventures, newbie-ventures.com. You can just contact me through the site.
Awesome. Great. Michael.
Hit my LinkedIn, my contacts on there.
Yep. Very cool. Howie, you're
Ready.
ready. You got your email on the
I
bottom.
already did it. Give me a call. I thought AI was supposed to make our lives easier. It's making it harder.
For sure.
Come
Martin.
on.
Hey, Howie's a pro. He puts his email in there. I got to remember that. Yeah, just on
I
LinkedIn.
know he does.
Not a lot of Renkuses on
Yeah.
LinkedIn. So me and my sons.
Yeah. All right. Awesome. Val.
I'm on LinkedIn as well, or valc@valconsultants.com.
There's mine
Great.
right there.
And Curtis.
Curtis.friesen@victolic.com. And of course, LinkedIn. And everybody stay tuned for Victolic is about to release a liquid to-rack manifold design that we've already deployed about 100 megawatts worth of supporting compute. But now with, the implications of AI, it's like we have to package this and productize this, and let's get it out there. And that's what we're working on. So stay tuned. It's very exciting.
Congrats.
Well, I guess I'm next.
Very
You can
cool.
find me on
And
LinkedIn.
Neha.
Yeah, LinkedIn and neha@doxel.ai. Happy to chat anytime about how we can help, how Doxel can help, AI, tech, everything as we power through this at a fast pace.
Yes, exactly. And that's the show. Y'all, welcome. Thank you for coming to the Data Center News Show. This is a show of the U.S. PropTech Council. I'll pull my plug. If you're not a member of the U.S. PropTech Council, well, you should be. So join us at proptechcouncil.com, PROPTECH, council.com. And y'all have a good one. See y'all next week.
Thank you, Amy.
Thanks for
See you,
coming.
everybody.
Thanks, Amy. Bye, everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.